sense now. Oh yeah, Mike. Oh yeah.
Had like prison tattoos all down his arms.
Mm.
And they were some of the most coolest tattoos I've ever seen. You know, that rock Pokemon that has like multiple rock. It's like a dragon made out of rock segments.
Yeah, Onyx.
Yeah, Onyx. He sort of had like that, but like made out of triangles. And it was one of the coolest looking tattoos I've ever seen.
Nice.
And I was like, man, where'd you get that? He's like, oh, in prison. Like, that's crazy. They're just.
Give me a prism Onyx.
It's like. Anyway, yeah. The point is, what was that guy's name that worked? And I got upgraded. I got finally promoted to dough off of dishes, which was a huge promotion. And I would have loved to just have that, and just I could have lived that way pretty easily, because you casually come into work a few days a week. Doing the dough is like satisfying feeling on the hands. It's peaceful. You can put on music. You're in the back. Nobody. It's really nice. But at that time, I actually got sent to tech school, so I couldn't take the promotion. But anyway, one of the guys in the back.
You got sent there?
Wow.
I was sentenced to technical school.
It was a good and a bad thing, because after that, I made the most money I've ever made in my life using programming for a few years. But at the same time, I could feel my soul dying every day in an office, and like my body getting weaker. I was like, I can't do this. Like my soul is literally being sucked out of my body day by day. So, but yeah, there's this Alec. That was his name.
Alec.
He was like a friendly giant. One day he came up to me and he's like, is there anything like around here? I was just eating like a lot of cheese. There's like shredded mozzarella, you know, fresh from like huge bricks. That's one of the funniest memories of that place. He was so funny.
Yo, before boss sees me, cheese check.
The thing on like my face, people who sound smart doing dumb things, like lads doing free running. So there's like my videos pop up once in a while on my YouTube of like, first of all, free running is funny, right?
I guess. What exactly is free running?
It's like skateboarding with no skateboard, dude. It's like doing tricks on your feet. It's
That's
like
weird.
It's like, can I run and get up that ledge? That's like 12 feet high.
Parkour, but not really.
Parkour, yeah, same. Actually, in my mind, they're so similar that I don't even know the difference. I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, that's basically.
We'll have to investigate further.
Yeah, it's like the same thing, but it's like, so these videos pop up about these London lads. And London's like an ancient city almost. So it has some really fine stonework, which is also funny because it's the same juxtaposition as having like the fancy sounding, intelligent sounding accent and these like beautiful ancient stoneworks that have been built. And they're like, oh, do you think I could run up that wall there? You think I could jump from here to there? Oh, you can make it, Chris. Go for it. Oh my god. Yeah, that's funny. And like, there's something funny about free running that it's like similar to soap shoeing. It's like, look how extreme I am, but it's funny for some reason.
Because it's not. You've taken away the balancing part. You're like the things that you always need to balance on your feet.
Thank you. Yeah, when you're ripping around at 30 miles an hour on a skateboard is like way more difficult than on foot. Like, a million times harder, really. I'm glad you figured out the reason though, because I couldn't figure it out. Yeah, it's like I'm extreme, but you're really not. Like,
no, negative, Captain. Almost there. Try a little bit harder. Put some wheels underneath those feet. Then we'll talk.
Yeah. That was the first one. All right. So next is, how many accents can you do?
How many accents can I do?
Yes. And that's for both of us, I guess.
I don't know, really. I never kept track.
I feel like there's certain times.
I'd say at least 4 or 5.
Yeah. There's like, when I'm with my dog, I'm like, stinker. What are you? I'm like,
what are you doing, stinker?
Yeah. No, what do I say to him? I'm like, oh, it's just a wee dog. I'm like, I cut with a knife. There's and that coincides with I've got a vegetable knife upstairs.
Uh-huh.
It's one of my favorite knives because it's so thin.
Keep it out in case someone breaks in.
Yeah.
Get the vegetable knife.
Yeah.
It cuts nice and thin.
No, it's funny with the vegetable knife because it's something that you never really see in America, and I found out that it was like a Japanese knife, and I was making fun of Americans for just not eating vegetables enough to know what a vegetable knife is. Like, it's a vegetable knife. Oh,
What is this a
what is a vegetable? The Americans, they do not know about the vegetable. They have no knife to cut the vegetable. But no, dude, it's so thin. It's like no effort to
Nice.
cut through stuff. It's pretty sweet. Yeah, the one I was doing was sort of like Big Hill. It's like, I think I could get up to Big Hill. And I've been told by a British man that there are people that talk like that there, which I find hard to believe. But I kind of find all of British...
Sounds like a backwoods version of a British person, or like a British redneck almost.
Yeah.
More than redneck though. Like, what would you call moonshiners in West Virginia? Like that kind of backwoods.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, I ain't brought this. I didn't learn much.
Yeah, and I was just listening to a accent last night. There's I told you about him before, Jack FNL. Does battleship videos, and it's like easy to fall asleep to because it's so dry. But it's still interesting. And he's like, instead of after, it's after. After. And I forget what other word was like that. But yeah, that's like a different British one that's like kind of fancier.
The easiest people I find to fall asleep to have a repeating cadence.
Yes. He does that. That's what he does because
what a lot of narrators do. That's why like History Channel can be like a good nap time channel.
Yes. And baseball. So good to nap to.
They don't really get too hyped in baseball.
It's it's such a slow-paced game that they're like changing the rules to make it faster. It's obviously sedated. It's pretty sedating to me. It's just something about the announcers and like the calm background. They're just talking like very casually. And once in a while, it's like, oh, hit the third, threw it in, got him out. And it's like, yeah, he was good back then. They go back to their conversation. But yeah, no, Drac.
Do we have people that fall asleep?
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
Intentionally or not?
Are you asking the viewers for
input?
Fall
comment.
Asleep content?
Yeah, fall asleep content.
Yeah, like
This was a puppy.
Light Rain. Oh yeah. He got it going.
He did. Bitey bus, turn it up on that snowmobile.
Turn it up, floor it. Dude, I was flooring it across up there. When those two-stroke snowmobiles get going, bud.
Whoa there, bud.
It's seriously like, and that's not even a fast one, and man.
Did you dump it a few times, did ya?
They're so fun. Oh, I did. I hit the gas. I was flying up there towards the trees faster than I look.
Towards the trees there, bud.
Yeah, I wish I could floor for longer, but the trees start coming up quick. And you're like, oh, damn, stop flooring it.
It came out of nowhere. It's been there for 30 years. Nowhere.
All right, the next up on my list was door ajar.
Excuse me, door jar?
My Corvette says door ajar.
Oh, ajar. Okay. Yeah, like open.
Yeah, and it's like we mentioned in one episode, I can't remember, like words that are only used in sayings. And you'll never hear that word again. Door ajar. That's one. That's one of them. I forget what the other ones were we came up with, but there was others.
Anyway,
we can move on.
System error.
What's that?
System error.
Yeah.
Only in computers.
Exactly. Well, dietary.
What happened on the job site? System error.
So the next one is, I was listening to the BBC for a while when I was sleeping down in my tent, just because I didn't have any other like media but that was one thing I could actually get like a small data stream of at like half a bar.
Should we tell for the perverts that's British Broadcasting Corporation?
I know everything has become yeah. But it was during like, so they have the peace during came like a ceasefire in Gaza now.
Yeah.
But this was before then.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically every time I turned it on, it's like people with accents that you couldn't understand, you could understand if you tried hard. So it made it like an effort, which is like, I don't like exerting effort to listen to people. But they'd be like talking in English that you had to make an effort to understand, talking about how much they were suffering. And I don't know, but it was like, and the suffering part isn't funny, but what was funny to me is just that every time I turned it on, it was like a slightly different accent of people suffering badly and a different way of suffering. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my kids are like all dying in disease, or like we don't have any water. It's like yeah, come in. Thank you.
Aha! Special guest.
Thank you.
Oh, you guys tape it?
Yeah, we're ready to roll.
Here, put this. Oh.
How you doing?
Good. I'm Aaron. I'm
Aaron?
James's
Nice to meet
friend.
Tell us. Do you want to tell us quickly about Good Yob?
A good job?
The Good Yob story.
Well, I don't know. That one's kind of nasty.
Okay.
I mean, it's not nasty, but I could tell you can edit it out.
Don't
What?
feel so self-conscious.
I don't know.
No, we're not editing.
I've never been on. Is it live?
No.
No.
I've never been on television.
Only
before.
15 people will see this, literally.
Yeah.
Maybe 20 to 25.
Yeah, don't hold
So
back.
don't feel...
Whatever you want to say.
Oh, all right.
And if
Right,
anything
yeah.
looks bad or sounds bad, we cut it out.
Okay, well, I was thinking about a different story.
Okay, go. Yeah, let her
Because,
rip. Yeah, for sure.
which I don't know if it's a good story, but
I like your stories.
you know,
Yeah.
what? Yeah, I got this on.
That's right side up, right, Aaron?
But right side out.
It's down. Yeah.
Yeah, this
Just do
needs
it
to be
180.
up?
Yep. Light
Wow.
facing you. There we go.
All right. Well, you know, I don't know how it came to pass that I ended up working as a doorman in a topless bar.
This is why I'm so happy you're here. Oh.
Well, you know, so
That's like Hemingway starting the first sentence of a book,
Right.
but in my like the style is entertaining to us.
so one day this guy comes in, and you know, basically the girls are the people who pay you. You make minimum wage, and when you walk them out to their car after their shift, they'll give you, you know, 15, 20 bucks, whatever part of what they made is. And you know, if you walk out like 10, 15, 30 years ago, back in the 90s, you walk out 15 or 20 girls and they give you 30 bucks. Well, I'm no mathematician, but it was pretty good money. So they're your clients, and you want to protect them, and you'd want to protect them anyway because they're your coworkers and your friends, sort of. And so this guy came in, and he was kind of weird looking. Like, you usually want the guys to buy a drink, buy a lap dance, socialize with the girls a little bit, you know, add something to the business, bring something, because that's why we're there. We're not dancing around in our underwear, you know, for some freak who comes in an overcoat, and he starts writing furiously.
Oh my God.
He's like 10, 15 feet, 10 feet from the stage, just, you know, writing, and it looks creepy. And I don't know if it took the first or second girl to come up to me and say, "Where's the camera, by the way?"
Straight ahead.
Oh,
Whoa, hey there. Hi.
but I don't know if it took like the first or the second girl to come up with me, but she, you know, they were like, "This guy's making us," and he was making me uncomfortable. Of course, I was looking at him too, and so it didn't take long before I went over. And you know, I used to wear, like, I guess it was the only jacket I had, like a black leather jacket and black pants and big black boots, and I had a black mag flashlight, and I'm pretty tall, and well, I'm not a big guy, but anyway, so I went over and I said, you know, "What are you doing?" And the guy's like, "Oh, you know, none of your business." And I'm like,
Oh my
"Yeah,
God.
gee," you know, and I don't want to be cop-like, but I'm like, well, it kind of is my business.
Yeah.
Because he's starting to go down the First Amendment trail, like, I get to, like, and I'm like, yeah, not in here. You know,
Oh,
like,
God.
basically what I say goes for now. And
Mm-hmm.
so I say, you go. So why don't you tell me what you're doing? And he just kept getting defensive and argumentative and escalating and First Amendment, blah, blah. You know, I'm like, "Look, you're making the girls uncomfortable. You didn't even buy a drink. You know, time for you to leave." And so I guess I was standing next to him in a somewhat imposing manner.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how I got him out. I don't think there was anything, I think I just convinced him to leave, and he was huffing and puffing. And so a couple days later, I'd worked like a night shift where I get in like at 3 in the morning, and it's like 6:30 on a Sunday morning, and I can't sleep. So I get up and start smoking a joint and watching TV. And back in those days, there was like, 4 channels. And,
I remember that.
yeah, I mean, you grew up here.
31, 41, 62.
Right. Well, that's in Vermont.
You got
there.
to turn the antenna.
Right. I mean, it's not much going on a Sunday morning in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so I'm like smoking a joint, and I'm tired, and I'm, in a shitty mode. And there's a talk show on. These 2 guys are talking, and then the guy's like, so I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to write this story, and this big Nazi-looking guy is standing next to me. I'm like, wait a minute, that's that creep.
He's on TV?
Yeah, he was on TV, and he's like
my
talking really negatively about me, you know, and I'm just like, I just got so angry, I was like, not like I want to find that guy, but
Oh my god. That's funny. If he just said what he was doing, like, he probably would have been fine.
It might have been, but I mean, the girls are private, and yeah, I mean, if he was a legitimate journalist wanting
Instead of being so defensive, if you
he
like,
should have come in and
Right.
asked me first,
Yeah.
or asked the management, and we should have just known what's going on. But
Yeah.
people get kidnapped, murdered, assaulted, and you got this freak just writing down stuff and hiding.
What show is he on?
Oh, I don't know, some crap local show.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So that's about that story.
So I'm sure you've got more stories from that place.
Oh Christ, yeah. I don't know if I want to delve into. I mean, they weren't horrible. Well, but basically, the thing with the topless bars is, it's very exploitative of young women, obviously. And, I'm not into that. I took the job because I had some martial arts background, and I worked with the guy who eventually bought the place, and he's like, "Why don't you be my, doorman?" And the doorman didn't they didn't accept me because they were all either like ex-convicts or brutes or guys on steroids, and I'm not big, and you have to kind of get in a scrap or two before they have either they or their dancer girlfriends, before they have any respect for you, and you have to go through a few trials.
Wow.
To and so the thing that happens is bikers come in, and this is New Mexico back in, this is when the Breaking Bad times were actually happening, and so the bikers would come in, and they're all huge, like tall and big,
Vikings, like sort of like you.
Yeah, but they were like Vikings. They were crazy. Like even the police, when they were arresting Redneck, who was like 6'8" and a kickboxer, and they called him Mr. Redneck, And they're going like, step backwards, Mr. Redneck. And I knew Cochise, who was the head of I'm almost afraid to say it now, the head of the Banditos. And he wanted me to take his girlfriend around the country for the summer because she was like 21 and she hadn't experienced anything. And then he was like in his 40s, and then he wanted to keep her, as his girlfriend, but he wanted her to get something out of his system. And I'm like, and then that kind of kept pressing, and I was best friends with the lawyer for the Banditos. Not best friends, but he was the guy I'd hang out with him. I remember having like a lost weekend of just doing amphetamine and riding around on the back of his bike like on somebody's bitch. I remember this one guy, I can't remember how to say this. I don't get scared by much, but this one guy, he's probably, this guy's dead. He was like a hitman. And
Wow.
I have that like little perverse sense of humor thing.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Where I like to goad people, or I try to see how seriously people take themselves.
Yeah.
But this was a little past that, and I don't know what really possessed me to do it. But I said, well, why is he called Ha Ha? And the lawyer guy Alan says, well, that's because the last moment before he assassinates somebody, he goes Ha Ha.
Oh
and then
my.
he blows their brains out.
Oh, not what I was expecting.
So for some reason, this was along this 3-day, it was around Christmas time party, and I kind of like almost started to tease him. I was going like either Ha Ha behind his back, like standing behind him, or I was going like, why do they call it? I don't know what I was doing. Some bitch little tightrope walking
Yeah.
thing, seeing how far it didn't go too far, but it was ill-advised.
Oh yeah.
But it was tough not to do it because, like,
So nothing came of that.
No, but and then Alan would take me around and bring me to these old Mexican mafia guys' houses, and they were, really respectable guys, still in their 60s, doing amphetamine. It's like always on the table.
Oh my god. It's like amphetamine. I was listening online to people talk about it, and they're saying it's not even that enjoyable. It just makes you awake for like a very long time.
Oh, exactly.
But no other like good feelings with it.
No, maybe the first or second time you do it, it's kind of
Right.
you get a jolt and you have energy, and and then after that, it's almost like you need it because you feel shitty. But then when you're on it, you feel shitty.
Yeah.
And within
addiction in general.
Yes.
No, but it's kind of worse because I think in some
Yeah.
other addictions, like let's say you're on heroin or something, at least it sucks, the whole heroin thing, but at least for a little while you feel good.
Right.
And
there's just no relief.
It's a shitty drug. I've heard meth is a shitty drug.
I mean, maybe there was a few good times, but but it was always your answer. It was like, oh, like people who smoke cigarettes, who knows, like, oh, I need a bump of meth. I mean, I wasn't addicted to it personally, but I was around it, and so the bikers would be there. The cops would come by during their shift just to check things out and watch some tits bounce. And they'd be standing there just looking at. Everybody was such a fucking pervert. I fucking didn't get into any. Like I would sit there and you're watching girls like naked all day. It's like nothing. Like it doesn't do nothing.
Yeah.
It's like I'd tie their little outfits up before they went on stage. Good luck, honey. Or they'd come over and they would just get their fake tits done, and they'd be like, "What do you think?" Like it was just sometimes I'd have to walk in their dressing room, and which it's just a job. But anyway, so the other crew was the young Mexican guys, their gang. They all dressed nice, had really nice, souped up either low riders or rice burners, or and they sold coke, and it was really good coke. Not that I tried it, but oh fuck! And then they were really, and they would kind of go out with some of the girls, but like in a legitimate dating way. They were really good guys too, and I almost I didn't mean to like turn on them.
I'm a big fan of the Southwest United States Mexican culture.
Oh yeah,
they're like friendly. They love cool old cars.
Right. I mean, I was like right in there with them.
Yeah, me too.
They had a whole giant garage in the South Valley
of
Albuquerque, which
I love it too.
A real Hispanic. And then the New Mexican people in general are people who lived there since before it was the United States.
Yep.
They lived there from the 16 and 1700s. And so they're kind of not quite indigenous, but it's different than Mexican culture per se.
For sure.
And so I'd go down, and they had this big, nice garages where they'd work on their cars, and I guess they financed that with the coke. And one time they were doing coke in the bathroom, and I just wanted to inform the owner that that's what was going on. And they knew because I'd walked in on them, and like I didn't care, but I was like, you want to, it's a pretty tight business. You're getting scrutinized, so you want to know. And then he takes the door off the bathroom, which indicates that I'm the guy who ratted them out. And then right after that, I went down there, not right after, but pretty much soon after, went down to their garage to buy some coke for myself. And like, they could have just fucking done away with me for being a bitch, but it seems like I'm a bitch a lot in these stories.
No, that's only the second time.
Well, yeah, it was, but then
that's where the purchase comes in, right? I mean, if you buy it, you didn't sell them out.
Right. So they knew but I think they knew I was an okay guy. But they were really nice to me, and so, I mean, that's sort of, it took me a year. Like I naively went into the job thinking, well, I'm a decent guy, maybe. Like, instead of me crawling into the mud with pigs, I can elevate this situation and make it a decent experience for people.
That's nice.
It was a noble sort of idea. And I had a girlfriend at the time, never cheated on her.
Yeah, it sounds like the girls trusted you and you helped them a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I like. Sometimes it sounds a little whatever, but I kind of like, I thought of myself as outside of the dance, and like as one of the girls. We'd be setting up in the morning, we'd all be chatting.
How long did that period last?
That was like 14 months.
Yeah.
By the end of the 14 months, it was the complete opposite. I had took a deep dive into the mud.
Yeah.
I was you're driving to work on a beautiful sunny day. Let's say you're doing the day shift and it's New Mexico, so the sun's blaring and you're in a good mood. and you just go, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I in a good, like, I'm about to go to, not like go to war, but I got to be on my toes. I can't be in a good mood. And you would have to talk yourself into being in a bad mood. And so, you know, because, like, you know, people would come in, you know, a guy comes in with a gun.
I've actually had that recently.
What?
Where, like, you have to stop being so happy and just concentrate on something.
Right. You got to get serious.
You really do sometimes.
And so you're, you know, between all that nonsense and madness, you know, my adrenaline was running, and you're scared, but it comes out as anger, and you're like tightly wound.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, I've gotten a few scraps, I suppose, but nothing too serious. You know, sometimes a guy came in with a gun and said, yeah, I wouldn't let him in. I didn't even know he had a gun. He just looked, he was like another overcoat guy, you know. And he said, well, you know, like, I got a gun, I'm going to shoot you or whatever. But I could sort of read him, and I was just overwhelmed.
Yeah, guys who shoot you don't say that.
Right. So I just shouted over to the bartender, like, yeah, would you call the cops? This guy says he has a gun.
Yeah.
And then just went on doing other people's IDs.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
good for you.
Right.
That's exactly what he deserved.
Right. You don't even deserve the respect.
The perfect treatment for
me getting excited.
Yeah. Wow, that was a good... I'm glad you came down, because I was feeling very like I was boring the people and being very self-conscious about it. So you really livened things up, Eric.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. We get some spicy content now.
Oh, yeah.
Do you still live down there?
No, I live in New Jersey in the house that I grew up in, and I'm 63 years old. So I, you know, grew up there in the 1960s and 70s, and went to college in the 80s, and then I continued in Pennsylvania, and then I continued college in the 90s in New Mexico while being a waiter.
Being a waiter's kind of fun.
Oh, being a waiter's great. It's such a social thing.
It is. I was telling Aaron before you came in, when I worked at a restaurant in the back, with the back people, it was one of my favorite times of my life. There's something about that culture.
Oh, yeah, you know, it's kind of...
Those people are good people.
You have to work in life, but maybe you're not like, I want to get up in the morning and go like 40 hours a week.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe you don't wake up till later in the day, which is my case.
Yeah, I wake up early, but I'm totally with the, you know...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, you were saying about enjoying being a dishwasher. I was a dishwasher in high school and even later on. And this guy on Reddit last night was like, I'm just going to stay a dishwasher forever. It's the only thing I can really handle, and it makes me happy.
There you go.
And I'm like, I love to be in I don't know why I love being a dishwasher, but...
Yeah. I was telling Aaron I got promoted to bread making.
Yeah.
From Dish, which was a huge promotion after working there for years and, like, suffering and actually, like, probably diminishing some of my health because of the, like, getting so little sleep. Like,
right.
Because you couldn't leave until the dishes were done, and sometimes that's like 1 or 2 a.m. Yet not all the dishes were done, and put away, and mop all the floors, and take all the carpets out, and like that would, you know, if people stopped eating at like, I don't know, 10:30, 11, you'd be there. If you didn't work as hard as you could, just a normal rate, you'd be out at like 1 or 2 a.m. Then I'd naturally wake up at like 5 or 6 a.m.
Right.
And basically have zero rest.
Right.
And that was the worst part of dishwashing, along with always being wet.
Right. I mean, and your hands are all, especially in the winter in Vermont, you keep getting your hands wet. And
oh,
dry.
Yeah.
Like that.
It was crazy, though, because we had, like, set hours, and the set hours were, like, normal, reasonable hours. But if you tried to leave them, they'd be like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah,
you have to stay until all the dishes are done.
Right. That's
so, what are you talking about? I almost left one time when there was, like, a mountain of dishes and my hour was over.
Right.
And I was like, I'm leaving. And I go to leave. And the manager, who was, like, my friend, we bonded over video games, just chewed me out so hard that I decided to come back in. And at least he did the dishes with me. He helped. So it's like, at least I got something out of it. But I should have just left at that point. That was dumb.
Emotional bullying is part of, like, being a restaurant manager.
Yeah. He was very good at it.
Right.
I've never been chewed out that hard in my life.
Right. I mean, I was a dishwasher in high school, and on Friday afternoons we'd have what we call blowouts, where we'd go over to my house and we'd all roll, you know.
I was like, wow, that actually hurt me a little bit.
What?
I'm like, wow, that actually hurt a little bit.
When what?
When him chewing me out.
Oh, yeah.
He was so good at it.
Yeah. I mean, see, usually I just was guilted into doing it, but I didn't take it personally. But it's a common trait that you know, if you're working in a restaurant, your parents should hopefully know, like, these guys. So we'd be like, because we would be on Friday afternoons in the '70s. We would go to my house after high school, and we'd smoke. I sold weed, so we'd smoke like however everybody would put in $1, and we would smoke it. I would just keep rolling joints, and we would just be like smoking up, and
Yeah.
and like the whole house would stink. And my father smoked cigarettes, and my friends smoked cigarettes, and everybody just smoked cigarettes like everywhere. They didn't just sit down; they'd walk through the house. They'd throw cigarettes in your toilet, which I don't like, but you know, like it was just like cigarette culture.
Oh yeah.
I had an empty Beck's bottle full of cigarette butts, so somehow they didn't detect my parents when they got home that I'd, been having this parties over. But anyway, they were so I'd smoke. Friday was my day off of that restaurant job, and I'd smoke weed, and my manager would call, and I'd stupidly answer the phone, and he would somehow guilt me, and it wasn't even that hard to like manipulate me into going. I'd be pissed. The party was over. I was stoned. I had to go to the next town and go wash dishes, which I was, and like somehow I fell for that.
Yeah. Well, you're young.
Yeah.
Young and dumb and full of...
Well, you're trained too as a kid just to be complacent. Like you have to
Compliant.
follow rules. That a good kid is an obedient kid.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Like and it happens in retail too. They did that to me when I worked at Kohl's in South Burlington. They're like, I was only there for like 2 or 3 weeks, and they made me the home supervisor.
Right.
And I was like, wow, great. I'm moving up real fast.
I just got to interject, and I'll let you go back to it. You never accept a promotion, and especially if it seems unwarranted, because that means they can't fill that position. You're going to work harder and make less. But anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. They were like, wow, as home supervisor, you should be really putting in like 50 hours a week. And I'm just like,
God.
oh, man. And then they talked me into overnights because they gave me a couple bucks more. And
By that time, you were there, bitch.
yeah, oh yeah, and that lasted for 3 weeks. I tried to do overnights, and I was just like done with it. I was like, this is not worth what you're paying me at all.
I'm glad you didn't do more than 3 weeks, because that seriously hurts your health.
Oh yeah, I was fucked. I would get to bed. Well, I mean, they had me working until 8 o'clock in the morning because the truck would come in. They wanted me to go in at 10 at night and work until 8 o'clock in the morning. It was terrible, absolutely the worst.
I can't believe that. Good thing that you quit after 3. I mean, I'm a night person, and I used to, and I'd perk up in the evening.
Good
I can't
for
get up in
you.
the morning. Well, so I worked overnights.
That's another accent I know, Aaron. Good for you.
Good for you.
Good
Good for you.
Your daughter.
So I used to work for a little while. I was a security guard at Mercedes-Benz in North America in Montvale, New Jersey, which was their whole North American complex. And then they had their New York State complex a block or two away, and it's really not rural but mountainous, nice area. And like, we had a car that we could drive. I was at the front desk, and they wanted you to remember the pictures of like the most prominent employers, so that when they came in the morning, you could greet them. And they were like me. They're all old white men, so you can't tell one from the other. And like I'm not even gonna wait. They're whole, like I'm supposed to do flashcards.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like 500 people worked there. They had a great.
Wow, 500.
Yeah, they had a great. They've since moved to Georgia, I think, recently, but they had a great. Cafe in the basement for breakfast. They served meals, and it was So on the overnight shift, this guy would be driving back and forth in the Mercedes, and he would check in with me from time to time. And one time I was really bored, and I did want to address the sleeplessness, but I was I guess I'll finish up on the sleeplessness. Even being a night person, after working 8 hours, like 12 to 8 or 11, whatever it was, by 5 o'clock, my head would just be going bonk on the desk. Like, people are born to sleep at night.
Yeah, you have to have blackout windows and see no light in the day and change your rhythm for it to work.
Any bit of light.
Yeah.
The slightest bit.
Yep.
And further, like the first time I had mental health problems with depression was after that.
Well, after working overnights.
Well, working that topless job, because I had like 2 days and then 2 late night shifts where you were so wired.
So there's no rhythm to get used to.
Yeah, there's no rhythm.
It's always fucking you over.
And then, but I recovered from that. But then in San Francisco, I worked in not an outpatient psychiatric facility, but an acute care facility where you took patients from the hospital right when they were a little bit better than needing emergency psychiatric, and you stabilize them on their meds for 2 or 3 weeks. And there were 10 clients in the house, and I worked these 17-hour overnight shifts once a week, and then I'd work a day shift and a morning shift. And after, like, I started that job, and I was in a really great space mentally. And after about 4 years, I was like a completely different person.
Wow.
I was just that negative, depressed. And
Yeah.
that one I never really got over. Like,
Wow.
I never, I think I just went further into depression. I was able to get a day social services job, but I was already kind of wrecked. And, whatever, I was, sometimes you can't blame things on other people, but I do anyway. And, I had a weird ass girlfriend. I think she was weird.
Why was she weird?
Well, first she liked me, so.
Whoa! Don't say that. That's.
I'm just joking.
All right.
But
I couldn't tell you.
she was like kind of hot, and she'd grown up in Germany.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a German.
Yeah, I really like nice blonde German girl, like 5'9", and at first.
Excellent German accent. Actually, he speaks a lot of German.
A little bit.
Basically, he's fluent.
No.
You were.
Basically.
He can understand it, and he can speak enough to, get around.
I mean, yeah, if you have a significant other, I'm sure you picked up.
Well, that was the
quite a
thing.
few.
I'd taken German in college and high school.
Because there's that girl that liked to
So
hear you
you were
talking
prepping?
German. What?
Who was
he
the
was
girl,
prepping.
like- What?
Prepping for the moment. You didn't even know it.
Yeah, greatness meets the moment. And so what was it? Oh, so it was frustrating because she didn't speak German with me. Like, she wouldn't speak German with me, and she spoke excellent English, and she'd lived here for at least 10 years at that time. And she'd be like, what's that's the thing, is like I don't like to be denigrated, but I tend to get those, like, they're kind of nice, but then they kind of have a little bit of your grandmother in them, like,
Oh, God.
where she's like, what is that garbage coming out of your mouth? But she didn't have that bad of an accent at all. But she
Yeah.
was like, what is that shit coming out of your mouth?
Yeah.
And then she got in a car accident, and I had to call her aunt in Germany to try to get her, we needed a new vehicle for her. And anyway, so yeah, I spoke German to her aunt, and they said, like, oh, he speaks perfect German, but she was always like saying, she wouldn't speak German at all, which I like German and Danish.
I do too. German, actually, I was doing some more research about the history of, like, lad culture.
Lad?
So a lad is like a service boy from the English times.
Yeah.
From like the early 1900s.
Dickens times.
Yeah. And so that culture is interesting to me. And the English, it's part of the English culture, which is what started our culture.
Right.
So we're basically not that far from their culture.
That's our closest.
That's our origin culture.
Yes.
But then if you look at the origins of them, there's a lot of German in it.
Yes, I mean, there was
The
a lot of...
whole continent, European area, there's like a lot of German.
Well, and if you went to the Windsor Palace in the 1890s, it was German being spoken by Queen Victoria and her husband, because they were both Germans.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't change their name to, I don't think it was called Windsor Castle or Buckingham Palace. Like, they had to change their last name at the beginning of the First World War when Germany went to war with England. And the Kaiser was the first cousin of the Queen's, Edward was the King of England, and he was the first cousins of the Kaiser Wilhelm of Germany and the Tsar of Russia, Alexander. And if you saw the English king and the Tsar next to each other, they looked like twins.
Yeah.
And so you saw the three of them, and there were these letters before the war where they're writing to each other, like, my dear cousin, like, I certainly hope this is going to be, because they hung out as kids. And then these great nations participated in the greatest apocalypse.
Can I point out for a moment how funny it is that you're talking about, like, hanging out with gangs and all this drug stuff and fighting and, like, martial arts, and you are wearing the stereotypical track pants right now of those type of people?
What people?
Well,
gangsters?
It's like Russian gangsters.
Right.
The Adidas tracksuit.
Yeah.
Actually, I found out the origin of that the other day. I can't remember now. Oh, it's because the Olympic team, their Olympic team wore Adidas one time.
Right. Well, Adidas
so it made it cool.
Right.
Gotcha.
And the Russians don't make anything, and so when they want to, I mean, all of the European parts of Russians, like it's really not. They say they're part of Europe, but it's really a Eurasian country, and it's not mostly white people in Moscow and St. Petersburg maybe, but so many of their leaders came from Central Europe, Germany, Germany, and so they don't make cars. They like the status of Mercedes. Adidas was very popular at one time, and it kind of, so these are the things they acquire to show that they have a little status over the common Russian, who has a Lada, and which is a shitty ass car that the Russians make.
Yeah, it's actually I think it's a pretty cool car.
Is it?
Well, just because it is kind of like a shitty car, but it's also like I don't know enough about it to say how reliable it is, but I feel from what I've heard, it's like supposed to be as straightforward.
I think it's definitely
and
straightforward.
like accessible as possible.
Yeah.
Like it's probably pretty easy to fix and pretty reliable, but not very like performant.
Right. I mean, the
That's what I would
fitting
say.
is going to be poor. There's probably going to be up, but they do seem
But
to be able to
what's-
keep them going.
Yeah, they do. And anyway, the reason that I think they're kind of cool is just because they were made the same car for so many decades
Yes.
that it became an icon.
Because it wasn't a capitalist society, they didn't have to make a new model each year, so
Yeah.
they could actually improve on the defects. And
Yeah.
there was a basic product. I forgot what the German car was called in East Germany. Skoda.
Oh, I know that one.
Skoda.
I remember that one from my racing games.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a Skoda.
I didn't know that was German too.
Yeah, and that was probably the Germans, even though they were communist, these Germans, that was sort of the most successful communist country financially because they were Germans and they made they still had that leftover legacy. Of
no, I understand. Can you do
hard work.
I wanted to. I don't know which weird direction you want to go, but I was going to say, like one of the funny things I've written down is the stage of the day where Erik gets pants on.
Oh, well, this is almost that stage. This is the transition between pajama pants and workout pants. And I have a pair of fancy pants upstairs that
Do
I'm
you?
going to wear to dinner, which I would have put on, but if we go snowmobiling.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to do some light calisthenics later.
Of course.
I'm not, this is sort of my gym outfit, so I usually don't wear sweatpants around
Yeah.
in society, but now I'm becoming a gym bro, so not really, but starting to. And like when you go to the gym, even though they're too short, but you want to look after you go for a while, like you realize you got to dress a little better. There's women there. There's a little red-haired girl you hope has a crush on you. She knows you're not. She doesn't even know you're alive, but in your mind,
Oh my god.
in your mind, you're already like a couple.
We were just talking about.
It's the greatest thing that's ever happened
Oh
to me.
my god.
Just wait
so
till she
funny.
finds out. And
Oh god. Can I help you with those weights?
yeah, she's pretty. She's a trainer, so
Those weights
she's
look
pretty.
Yeah.
She's pretty strong.
Oh, you don't offer the trainer for help. You ask the trainer for help.
Well,
That's how you
the
get
thing
it.
is she came. I was doing like these pulls on the cable machine one day, and there's a little bit of a crossover between stripper culture and trainer culture. I'm starting to think maybe I'm wrong, but she comes up and she's like, "Here, why don't you try this movement?" And she's like, helping me, and I think she did it like twice, and she's talking to me, and I'm thinking like, I think she kind of likes me. She's probably like 40 or something, and then I'm like, well, normally I would like ask a person out, but well, I don't know if I know, but I would try to find a way to talk to them, but I'm
Yeah.
like, well, that's a little forward for maybe my age. Who
Yeah.
knows if she's, I don't know anything about her. Like if I don't think she's married or has kids. It doesn't give off that.
That's
vibe.
the worst.
Yeah, but it's just so I ended up taking some lessons, right? And like 2 training sessions, which were good. And
Train me, baby.
then I looked at my bank account at the end of the month, and I'm like, wow, this is the first time I've run out of money in a while. I'm ready to go. But I didn't spend
I
it
need
all
more
on
money
that.
so I can keep training.
Yeah, so
There's a song called I learned it recently. It's a great song called Vincent Black Lightning. And it's about one of the lyrics anyway says that there's nothing in this world better than a motorcycle and a redheaded girl. And I think that's fairly true.
yeah, I mean, if you have a redheaded, if you got a girl on the back of your bike, if you got a bike and a girl on the back of it, you're already doing pretty good,
Yeah.
So yeah, and so that's a good premise. It's better than like you know, like.
The other thing I was going to say besides your pants was the your Family Guy, no, American Dad Roger.
Yeah.
Doesn't he do like German?
Klaus is the
Right.
Klaus is the skier
Yes.
from the former East Germany who was by the CIA. He was a real person, but they put his body into the body of a goldfish.
Oh.
Come on, bro, you got to get me out of this body. Oh, I can't stand it. But anyway, he's like, he's a really good character. At first episodes, you kind of dislike him, but he becomes a little bit endearing.
Yeah. Do you have any funny American Dad or Family Guy quotes or?
Well,
moments?
yeah, but the one thing I'm thinking about, like, like one time Klaus gets into having Steve and Snot, who are the kid, you know, the kids in the family, or Snot's Steve's friend, and he's like trying to teach him about German culture for some reason. He's telling German fairy tales, and they're all like, you know, what? You never heard about the eagle and the schnauzer? Oh, everybody knows that, you know. And then they start showing it, and like, you know, there's always this underlying gag that Steve and Snot are gay for each other, and like one of them's the schnauzer, one of them's the eagle, and then they end up, or like he keeps telling these stories where they show Snot in a dress, and he's like, why am I always wearing a dress in these stories? And what, you never heard of Das Boot? Oh, it's just the best German movie of all time. And he's just a real crack up.
Nice.
But yeah, you know, it's good to. Oh yeah, there's some good episodes, but it's a pretty. You know, it's the writing. It's just like comedy. You know, any comedy behind it is the writing.
Oh yeah.
You know, like if you guys like could, you know, you try to keep track of your bits or your ideas during work.
Yeah. I've got all my funny ideas basically I've had for all the episodes written down at least.
Right.
So.
And then, you know, maybe if you guys kept like a little list, like 10
The
topics.
Google Keep list.
Yes.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You do have a list?
Yeah, we
Good.
use that Google Keep. It's pretty nice. You can set up somebody as a collaborator, so we can mark stuff off when we get it.
Well, sometimes I think of funny stuff.
You should write it. Yeah.
I could send it. You know, if it's good, if it's not good.
I did not write the thing that I thought about though. I said it to you. I was like, "Don't let me forget it."
Yeah.
I forgot it.
That happened to me.
Did you remember?
Did you write it? Or
Is
you
it in
didn't
there?
Which one?
My phone's recording.
Oh, Google Keeps.
No, it was through the chat there.
Oh.
Yeah, I probably have to scroll back because I didn't add it. That's the thing is, like, on the road is when all my ideas happen. So I only remember a short part. It's not like I can enter them in my phone. I guess I should get a...
They just this is, I guess, an iPhone only feature. Wait, you do have an iPhone. They just upgraded the notes feature with the new update that you can speak to it, I guess, to take notes.
Ooh,
I think
to be getting going on notes.
Well, in the interim, I want to divert back to that Mercedes-Benz story because it's a little bit funny, maybe.
Yeah.
So one night, you know, it's like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'm bored as crap. And I'll wrap this up quickly.
See you later.
Actually,
I was only kidding. I'm not really gonna steal it.
No, I know.
So you know,
I know you want an SE2 though. They're pretty sweet. You know, they're only
fuck my 15 Pro Max. Give me that SE2.
Yeah, it's a big. I mean, it's great. This is the bare minimum phone that can run the modern OS.
It's not a problem.
But it does it.
Sometimes less is more.
It's nice. It's small.
Especially with vehicles these days. It's like manning a spaceship in some of them.
Oh, it's the worst.
Ridiculous. Just more stuff to go wrong.
For sure. 100%.
Sorry.
Yeah, tell us about
about
your Mercedes.
Well, we don't have to be rigid. You know, my fear is I drive like a 2000 Toyota, which I'm perfectly comfortable with. But my fear is like if I get into any car. I remember when they first came up with like the push button start, and
I hate those.
I was parking cars at a New Year's Eve party, and like it was a rich frickin' place, and people were driving up in the latest Porsches and stuff. I don't even know how to start. Like, here you go, and I'm like, where's keys? How do I start this? You know, I got to call my friend who's a driver. How do I fucking start this car? You know, and just I couldn't do the simple. So now I'm thinking like you said, spaceship.
There's a lot of electronics, infotainment complexities.
If you're not ready for them too. It's like you actually have to read the owner's manual on a vehicle. It has like lane departure assist, so it'll like kind of bump you back into your lane, but sometimes, you know, they go off like on exit ramps and on ramps. You know, it doesn't really account for those situations, so it'll just like break you intensely because it feels like you're tailgating. So I've had it. Somebody cut me off.
Can you turn that off?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What
I have lane departure assist off.
What kind of car do you drive?
A Subaru.
And
It's a Forester. It's like
year?
base model 2023.
Oh, okay. So it'll have all that.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Wow.
Yeah, my Toyota is a '01, I think, and it has how much fan do you want? Do you want the fan air cool or hot? AC button on or off?
And do you want the heat coming out at the floor?
Right, the heat out of the floor or
at
the
the
thing.
windows or your face.
And then the radio is push button on the volume to start it, up and down, seek button, favorite channels, tuning knob, that's it.
That's all you need.
Cranks on the windows, door locks, that's everything.
Now, when you have to, say, do something like just change the radio or something, do you have to look at a screen or do you have tactile dials?
I have both. Yeah, because I have the base model. I don't have like the limited. I'm sure the limited is literally just, some of the newer Outbacks have just a touchscreen. There's like no knobs. Even the HVAC is through that.
That's the worst. It's actually dangerous.
If that goes, you're screwed.
Wow.
It's kind of dangerous because you have to be like navigating menus to just do basic functions while you're driving.
Meanwhile, it's a law not to use your cell phone.
Right. But you got it. You can play the Chronicles of Narnia or something on the screen or whatever. But you know, you can be just completely distracted. But that's why the tactile things are so good because they don't require that you take your eyes off the road.
Dedicated function switches. That's what those are. They're always there. You don't have to look. It's simple. It does the thing. You don't have to navigate menus.
Yeah.
Tell us about your Mercedes. What happened?
Oh, yeah. So what happened at Mercedes was, just a little funny. So like,
it's a little funny.
I was, getting bored and I'm bending over my chair. I'm probably like opening drawers. At some point, I'm underneath the desk, and like. Like I've been going on for 45 minutes. I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't like I didn't do drugs or drink at the time, I think.
Sound like you're getting tired of that place.
You're just there all night. Nobody else is in this enormous building except for like a original Benz like down in the basement from 1898, like a horseless.
Was it haunted?
What?
Was it haunted?
I don't think so. But around that vehicle, it was like, wow, that's a lot of history.
Here in overnight security, I hope we were going down that route.
Yeah, right. Anyway, I'm under the desk, and there's this big ass button. It goes like really deep. It looks like it goes. I don't know. It's the weirdest button I ever pushed, and so I shouldn't have pushed it. So I'm just going, what is that button? And I'm just going like, maybe it's a secret compartment. Who knows what I was thinking?
Oh my!
And I just push it. It's like really a deep button. Like it travels for like at least an inch or like an inch, and then I'm like, well, I guess I'm done crawling around beneath the desk, and I get up and I'm sitting there, and then the guy he goes. Like base something, this is Mobile One. And they're like, well, why do you keep calling it Mobile One? We only have one car. Like, I know it's you. Like, he's always got to use that jargon of base, this is Mobile One.
Yeah, do you have a radio call name?
No.
No? Okay.
No, it was like, whatever we were, the guy at the desk. And he's like, did you happen to push that button underneath the desk? And I'm like, what button? Or like, no, or, just trying to play dumb. And I'm like, well, if I had pushed that button, what would happen? But I still didn't know what it might have done. He's like, just carefully look outside the door. And like, I just kind of peek out the doors.
Police.
And there's guys with like rifles, and they're like cops with rifles, and they're fully like ready to. And this was in the 80s before the SWAT teams and shit. And they were like ready to go because this is their town's prized business.
Right.
And it's worth a lot of money, and I'm like, well, maybe I pushed it. And it's like something you couldn't do unless you were very deliberate. You weren't going to just hit your knee on it because it had a guard around it.
Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Who wants to know?
Oh, man. Dude, I feel stupid.
Yeah, I felt stupid many times in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the time. I mean, I'm good with like, we're talking about this before, the male mind, has it's kind of scarily similar to autism. It's like very male traits overlap with like light autism. It's like fascination with machines and computers,
Oh yeah.
low social ability,
Right.
you know.
Or delayed, like you don't really know how to talk to girls till you're 30.
Yeah.
If a girl likes you, you're like, you go home and you're like, what could she possibly see? I'm gonna, but oh, that was just I was thinking of, I don't know if this is a good story, but like stupid, like we said, male and autism, but I'm thinking, like I was so stupid as a kid in some ways.
Right.
I mean, well, one way was like smart stupid. No, this was stupid smart or whatever it was. But in like the 8th grade, there was a newspaper article that this kid a couple towns over had like blown his face off while he was making a pipe bomb.
Oh yeah.
Jeez.
And like what I got out of the article, I just go like, oh my God, you can make pipe bombs. Right. And
Right.
so what I did was like I went out and took whatever pipes I had, bicycle handlebars, copper pipes, and went and got the fuel, which was
Match heads.
match heads. And then at that time they would sell waterproof fuses in the hobby shops, and bought the fuse and started making pipe bombs and blowing things up, like the trash can, like aluminum trash cans the circular ones, when they blow up, the top goes one way or separates, and then they're just 2 panels that were riveted around it, and I remember we got one probably 40 or 50 feet in the air once. I remember doing one on a delayed fuse, which a delayed fuse was you take a cigarette because they don't stop burning, and you
Oh, that was
place
back
it there.
before the cigarettes had like the anti-burn in them.
Yeah, they had
Yeah.
accelerants or something that would keep
no,
it
it was
burning.
normal, but they came past a law because it was dangerous. People would like pass out smoking or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So they put stuff in it to make them go out now. But
Right.
before
Oh,
that,
they do?
Yeah, so before that they would keep going.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
they-
the weave of the paper. You can see it's got like striations all
Oh.
across it, all the way down.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Is
I didn't
that
know
it? Striations?
Yeah, there's like thinner portions and then there's thicker portions.
Ah.
So the thinner, yeah, it
Oh.
doesn't, right. So they're different, like,
Wow.
Combustion
like
rates,
air
yeah.
letting in rates.
as an ex-smoker. Oh, yeah. Especially around that time, too. Because I saw it change from going from, like, you could smoke almost anywhere to,
Yes.
like, no public places.
Yeah.
When
And,
was that?
Oh,
Because that was a while ago.
Not too long. 10 years, maybe?
2004, 5? Something
Yeah,
like
Right.
yeah.
that.
I kind of
Man,
thought
that
that
was
the
20
public
years.
smoking ended maybe a little. No, that was about the time maybe that. It
But
was
I mean,
really,
they really
really,
cracked
I mean,
down. You can't like
absolutely.
smoke
Yeah.
outside of buildings. You couldn't be walking out in the open air in some areas and
Yeah.
having a cigarette. Like downtown Burlington, there's certain areas where they like
Yeah.
will holler at you for
Wow.
having a cigarette outside.
You know, it's funny. Growing up as someone who never really smoked cigarettes, although I would enjoy some from time to time, but I would always enjoy, like, for me, a cigarette was too much. But if other people were smoking, just like the faint vapors that they're making,
the secondhand.
like, I enjoyed that level. It was like just this 5%, you know.
That's the worst. As a smoker, you don't want to smell secondhand smoke.
Exactly.
You want to be doing it
It was
yourself.
like, if
It's
I go
so
into like a
stank.
smoker's house, it was like a comforting smell.
Huh.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Teach their own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my dad smoked. My mom smoked a bit, and my dad smoked 2 packs of Marlboros a day. And like the ceiling on our porch is 7 feet, and family room or whatever. And it was just constant smoke. And we lived in an apartment in Queens when I was a baby, and everyone smoked. Like you see pictures of the parties, and it was just so common for cigarette
it's-
smoke to be everywhere.
Well, the thing is that every human, once they experience tobacco, generally enjoys it.
No, not me. I could never smoke a
No.
cigarette. That's the one. And none of us kids grew up as smokers because we didn't like actively hate it, but we just thought it was
That's
like,
good.
ridiculous.
I was going to say around the same time that I remember speaking of when cigarettes they took away the burning ability over time or whatever we're calling it. I remember when they added the safety to lighters.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
And it made me angry because
because everything makes
it was so easy and it was like such a well-designed machine. Like
Beforehand.
I love well-designed like systems and machines.
Yeah.
And so like it would just take the lowest effort flick and it would just go. and now you'd have to like press hard and like hurt your thumb, like
Or
something.
move a lever or
It's
something.
like this
yeah,
bullshit.
You just pop off.
I
We
pop
used
them off every time, dude.
Yeah, all the time.
Every time I pop them off. And then I talk to kids that don't even know about popping them off. I'm like, dude, you gotta get that off. And if I go use someone else's lighter, I pop it off. I'm like, sorry.
It's a habit.
Not asking for permission. This is happening.
But they don't even know. And then, like that was a thing. And then after they're like, oh, this is nice, you know?